Hi, it's Pavel with a Visual Basic programming exercise called College Admission. This is from a book, Introduction to Programming using Visual Basic, and it's from Chapter 4, Project 6. Now, we're supposed to make a form and do some calculations to decide whether a student reached enough points to be admitted to the college. There are certain criteria that needs to be followed. Um, I already made a form because it took a while. It would be quite boring to watch me to make the form on the video. So this is our form. You got these SATs, high school quality, difficulty of curriculum. Those are some criteria. I didn't make these up. These are already outlined in the book. And each of them has some points assigned to it in the brackets, as you can see. The points could be negative, like if the curriculum wasn't difficult enough, you can deduct 4 points, for example. And then you have some additional criteria, such as geography, whether it's a state resident and so forth. Whether the essay was outstanding or good or excellent, and some miscellaneous stuff as well. Each of them, again, has some points assigned to it. And again, these points and everything here, what you see, was already outlined in the book. Now, the exercise calls that we enter over here, the enter GPA score, students' GPA from 2 to 4.0. The point value in the brackets to the right of the text box is 20 times the GPA. So, for example, if I enter 3.5, over here, the GPA, the point GPA would be 70. It's 3.5 times 20. And that should appear automatically after the focus leaves the text box. So there's no button to click. Simply you enter the GPA, and once you start entering here all these other criteria, this is calculated automatically without any button click. Okay, so now when the GPA is entered, we will enter all the other criteria. Now, according to the exercise, a total of at most 40 points can be earned for the responses below the line. In other words, over here we can enter, all the criteria, but when it adds up to more than 40, the maximum is 40. In other words, if I enter state resident and this socio-economic disadvantage, that's already 30. And if I enter underrepresented state and a national, that already would be 41 together. It's 30, 36, and 5 is 41. But we would only add 40 points. So there will be quite a few if statements. And I'm going to do something a little differently. Normally, at this point, you would use a lot of if statements, like if this one radio button is selected, then points is 0. If this one, then points is 6. If this one, then point is 10, and so forth. But that's a lot of radio buttons and a lot of checkboxes to do. So I'm using a little trick, and the trick is I'm using tags. If you click any of the radio buttons, down here you have the name, and right above it you have a tag. And what I did, I assigned for each radio button, I assigned the numeric value of the points to the tag. So for example, this one has 0, so I assign 0. This one has 6, so I assign 6. This one has 10, so the tag is 10, and so forth. The same with the checkboxes. This one's 10, so it's 10. This one's 6, so it's 6. So again, I named each of them properly, but I used the tag to store the point system assigned to each of those checkboxes and radio buttons. Why I did that, you will see when I start coding this. It's going to be easier or more efficient to do the calculations, other than, we would have to, like I said, do a lot of if statements, and I mean a lot of if statements. So this is gonna save quite a bit of lines of code. All right, so here's the thing. This is the form. Those are the criteria. Let's get to code. Now everything will be pretty much stored in our calculate score button. So we will simply double click that, get the event code, and start, coding. So what do we need? We need some variables such as GPA as double. We need some sums, some totals, to calculate. So sum 1, that's gonna be the above the line as double. Sum 2 as double. Actually, this could be integers because these are whole numbers. Yeah. So and as come on, IntelliSense, help me out. Oh, it cannot help me when I have the wrong variable. All right, so sum 2 as double. I'll use doubles for now. I'll see if I use doubles or not, because there will be probably some division as well, and we may end up with some decimal points. All right, so I have these, and I will need some temporary variable to hold some intermediate calculations, like that we will be using to come up with the totals. There might be some like a placeholder for okay, like I said, intermediary calculation results. So that's gonna be as double as well. All right, now, and this is where the like I said, I have those tags, but I have everything grouped together, like SAT, high school quality, difficulty of curriculum. Those are groups. So I have to declare them as variables. So I'm using two things. I'm using checkboxes and I'm using radio buttons. So I need to instantiate them, so to speak. That's might be a little advanced for this part. I mean, this is just chapter 4. But you will see how this is used down in the program when the calculations start, and it's gonna be a checkbox. So I have a radio button and I have a checkbox. All right. So what I'm going to do now is to loop through radio buttons over here. Sorry about that. So I'm going to loop through radio buttons on the top. All right, the first half on the top of the form. And I will use the tag property, like I said, to hold the value. So the tag property holds the number of points for each radio button, and it is all added together. So, and it is all added to, and that's the sum 1. That's the top part. All right, so this is what we're going to be doing. So how do we do that? Well, if first we need to make sure that the user entered the initial GPA score. So if text box GPA score is not empty, then we can do some calculations. But let me think quickly. If it's empty, I also need to make sure that it's not within the limits, which is supposed to be between 2 and 4. So and text box GPA score dot text is greater or equal to 2, and text box GPA score dot text is less or equal to 4, then we got a correct GPA score. Over here is text. So what we can do is now calculate the GPA, which is 20 times. The points are 20 times the GPA. So GPA equals text GPA score times dot text times 20, and we can add GPA to our sum. Sum 1 equals GPA. For now, we will be adding more options to sum. So, but all right. So user enters, let's say, GPA score of 3. So this passes. GPA score will be now 3 times 20, which is 60. So sum initial amount will be 60 as well. But looking at this, we need to, since we are working with numbers, I cannot work directly with text boxes as text. So I need to convert these to the appropriate number format, which in this case is double. So if this is double, and it's a double because it could be a decimal point, it could be 2.5, for example, and this is as well double. All right. And once again, this is double as well. Yeah, we are working with numbers here, not strings. So we need to convert it, whatever value is entered, into a number. Okay, so now we could also do something like else message box, please enter valid GPA. So if user enters something wrong, we will display the message box, please enter valid GPA. Okay, so now let's do the calculations. So here I have the radio buttons. On the top, I only have radio buttons. I don't have any checkboxes. So that's going to be what I'm going to be concerned with here. And I'm going to loop through each of those groups to see which one of those radio buttons in each group is selected. And to do that, we use for each loop. So for each radio button, this is our red right here. This is a variable. In our group, the first group is called, I think, set, right? Yeah, the first group is set. So first group of set dot and this is where it's a little advanced maybe. Controls dot of type of radio button. So what we are doing is going through this group. We are looping through each of these radio buttons. We check if this one's selected or if this one's selected or if this one. Only one of them can be selected at a time. So over here we declared our object of radio button, and if the group the control in the group of SATs is a radio button, which they are, then we will see which one is selected. So if red dot checked, then our temporary, this is the temporary value in variable that we are using. So our temporary will equals the radio button tag. That's the value, that's the point system. All right, and we will now assign that to our sum. So let me say it again. What's going on? We are going through the radio buttons in the SAT group, through each of them. When we hit a radio button that is checked, then our temp variable, we didn't even need it. We could just assign sum1 equals plus equals red dot tag. In fact, I'll do that just for the simplicity of that dot tag. All right. So remember, tag. For example, this tag has a value of 6. See over here. So we'll add 6 to our previous sum, which in this case holds the GPA so far. So now it's going to be like a GPA plus 6, or whatever the tag value is. And that's that. This is all the calculation for the group. Now we'll do the same for the other groups in the first half of the form, on the above the line. So for each red again, and but the group now will be which one is this? High school quality. So in group high school dot controls of type of radio button. It's a little complicated syntax, but you know, it is what it is. And you can, you know, this is how you learn. You know, I mean, if you go just do the minimum amount of work or whatever is required without trying to kind of push the envelope a little further with the exercise, then you'll get stuck. You know, it's this is how I personally learn anyway. That I go and try to find more efficient solution if I can. Sometimes I don't feel like it. Sometimes the easiest way is just to follow the structure of each chapter in the book. But sometimes I like to go a little beyond and above. So again, we'll check which radio button is checked. When we hit that, and again, only one can be checked, obviously. Then sum1 plus equals radio button dot tag, and in fact, let's copy the whole thing so I don't have to type it again, because it's going to be the same thing except it's going to be difficulty of curriculum group. So if group how do I name it, curriculum control of type, there you have it. So it's exactly the same thing. So originally I thought I would just store the value of the tag in a variable called temp, but like as you can see, we don't need to do that. All right, so this takes care of the top of the form of the radio buttons, but now there's checkboxes as well. And with checkboxes, obviously you can have multiple checkboxes selected, so this is not going to work exactly the same way anymore. So now we are going to loop through um, radio buttons and checkboxes on the bottom of the form. Again, uh, the tag property holds the number point, the point holds the point value, and is added to, in this case, sum2, right? Sum2. You could probably just do sum1 as well, just to make everything all, like in one variable. I split it in two because they. Oh, actually, I split it in two because you couldn't have it like that. A total of 40 points is maximum that we can reach. So I need to store it in sum2 or in total 2. Otherwise, I would reach 40, and it would, it wouldn't. I wouldn't know. The program wouldn't know how to do the calculations up to 40 only. So this way, if it's in a different variable, if it's stored in a different variable, it's going to be easier. So the maximum points earned can reach 40. All right. So now, which one's first? Geography. I know I'm going to do these first. Um, Whatever. I'll do them in order, I guess. Uh, so, and like I said, it's going to be really the same. The difference is that in radio buttons, it loops through all of them. But if the first one is checked, it adds the value of the first uh, oh, I forgot what it's called, radio button. All right, if the first radio button is checked, it adds the sum, but then it still goes and checks the others, but it doesn't do anything because none of them can be checked. With checkboxes, they can. It goes through the first one. If it's checked, it adds it. It hits the second one. If that one's checked, it just adds it as well. It would do the same with radio buttons, but by default, you cannot have multiple radio buttons in a group selected. So, which one was the first again? Geography. All right. So, if not if, but for each. But this one, remember, we declared is as a checkbox, not radio button. So in this case, it's going to be a checkbox. So for each checkbox in which one? Group geography. Yep. And again, controls that of type of checkbox, of course, not the radio button anymore. This is a checkbox. And then we can do the if statement. So if checkbox checked, then sum2 plus equals check dot tag. All right, just like this. The only difference is that this is a checkbox, and with each iteration of the loop, it checks each of those checkboxes and add the value again to sum2. So that's the first group. Second is alumni. Right. So for each check in group, alumni dot controls dot of type of checkbox, and again, this is actually the same thing, so I'll just copy it. This doesn't even change at all. Now essays are radio buttons. So you know what? Let's just copy this thing. I hope that you can see the pattern now. Obviously, I mean it's quite clear what I'm doing here. I hope now. So group is called essay. Maybe not. What did I call it? Group essay in a radio button. So radio button is checked. Okay. Oh, but over here we'll add to some too. Oh, the dangers of copy pasting, forgetting things like that, and that could mess up the whole program. And now leadership, and then miscellaneous. Okay, leadership is checkboxes. So let's do this. All right. So it's a group leadership checkbox. That's correct. And miscellaneous is, of course, radio buttons. So I'll copy radio buttons. So group, miscellaneous, and there you have it. So it just repeats itself and it adds the values. But now, of course, we need to make sure that we don't exceed 40 points. So it's a basic, simple if statement. So if sum2 is greater than 40, then sum2 equals 40. And that's that. The maximum is 40. So if it's greater than 40, it's still just 40 to us. All right, so, and that's it. This is really all. This is all the calculations. Again, I'm storing the values, the point values in tag instead of doing if radio button said 1 was selected or if radio button said 2 was selected and so forth. I simply loop through them this way. Now, there was one thing actually, and the point value in the bracket to the right that's how you calculate the GPA. But it should appear automatically after the focus leaves the text box. In other words, after we enter it and leave the text box 20 times, the value should appear here. So how do we do that? Well, we need a method to add, and it's going to be focus lost, I think, not property. Focus leave, maybe. If you double click that, yeah, I think this might be the one. All right. So what is it going to be? Um, we will store. Okay, so the text. I forgot what I call this. Oh, where is that text? The name is GPA points. All right. So text GPA points dot text equals 20 times whatever's in the GPA score text box. So 20 times, and since it's a calculation, remember we need to convert it to double. Text GPA score dot text. So this multiplies it by 20 and stores it in the other text box, or displays it in the other text box. You know what? Right. So let's test it. Let's see what we get. All right. So let's enter 3.8, 3.5, for example. And if I leave the focus, yeah, see, I didn't press any button. I simply press tab on my keyboard, and here you go. It's 3.5 times 20 is 70. So now let's add some points. Let's say I add this one, that's 6 points. This one is 2 points. Let's say I get this one to check the negatives. uh, and I'll add just one for now and see how what it is going to do. Oh, is it gonna do anything? I mean, it does does it, except uh, we didn't display it yet. I need to display it in the in my output, which I forgot. So what is this called again? I think it's just a text box. Yeah, it's a text output. So over here, our text output dot text equals sum1 plus sum2. Remember, we have a sum1 for the upper half and sum2 for the bottom of the form. Okay, let's try again. So again, 3.5. It automatically calculates it just by pressing the button on the keyboard. 6, 6, and then -4, and just one of these. And we get 88. So we get 70, 76. That's 82 -4. So that's 78, and plus 10 is 88. So it works. Now let's check all these to make kind of like over 40. You know, to make sure that it's not over 40. So we got 70, 76, 82 -4 is 78, and this maximum point is 40. 78 plus 40 is 118. So we didn't calculate all of these together, and instead it cut it and made only maximum, which is 40. So it seems to be working fine. Now the output is kind of crude. We only simply output the score. Since the program should calculate the total score and then admit an applicant whose score is at least 100. So again, it's a simple if statement. We'll output we can output this, and then we can add, you know, if sum1 plus sum2 is at least, was it at least 100? At least 100. So it's greater than or equal to 100. Then we'll output this, but we'll output it in some kind of a, you know, like a, let's add some text to it. Your score is, and add the calculation, and then add congratulations, you are admitted. All right, admitted, like that. Else, we'll output the same thing, except sorry, you're not admitted. Sorry, you are not admitted. All right. Not sure if it wants something from me. Yeah, we got some error. Oh, we don't have and if. And if, how about now? Okay, so let's try that. Let's say 3.5. Let's not add anything. So your score is 70. Sorry, you are not admitted. Now let's add what we had before. And this and this and this and this and this. And all this. Make it greater than 40. And your score is 118. Congratulations, you are admitted. Again, this is only 40 points, even though obviously those points together are more than 40. So this is all. I really hope you learned something new. Like I said, this is not exactly the way you would do it in chapter 4, when you're just learning if statements, you could definitely do it with lots of if statements. Check each box and each checkbox and each radio button, and simply add those values like that. But this is what I came up with, and you know, hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully it helped you. Over here, the temp is not used anymore, so we don't need that. We can just get rid of it, just so it's kind of cleaner. So again, we are looping through each radio button. I mean, this is we'll calculate the 20 times the amount of the GPA, and we store it in sum one. After that, we go through each radio button group. We will loop through each of them and see which ones are checked. Only one of them can be checked, obviously, and the value that is stored in the tag of the radio button that is checked is added to sum one. After that, we go to the second half. There are some checkboxes, which is the same principle though. We'll check which ones are which checkboxes are checked, and we'll add the tag value to sum two. At the end, after each group has been calculated, we make sure that the maximum amount of points that we assign is 40. That's the exercise called for. So it's a simple if statement. And then based on the overall score, we'll output the appropriate message, and we'll output the actual score. So, hope it helps you, and I will see you next time. Take care.